was more pre-draft visits. The Pittsburgh Steelers are very close to closing off their top 30 visits. I believe they have one left at this point. Do not know who it's going to be. I would imagine it's Kenneth Grant over Walter Nolan. I do not think he's going to show up just from what I have been told. But today's news was two running backs, RJ Harvey out of UCF and Trey Henderson out of Ohio State. Another two big names to add to a list of running backs that is growing, and to be even more honest, has some sort of clear resemblance to each other, and that is speedy, explosive dudes who are going to go anywhere from the first round to maybe the fourth round, who have that upside to be a starter pretty quickly in the NFL. Trey Henderson, just to take everybody back real fast, is a name that the Steelers have been interested in since the NFL Combine. I mean, that was the name I was told multiple times in Indianapolis. Look for Trey Henderson, look for Trey Henderson, look for Trey Henderson. Steelers like him. I followed that, and so have the Pittsburgh Steelers. They met with him at the Combine. They showed up to his pro day, obviously, and then they took him out to dinner and have now brought him in for a pre-draft visit. I'll start with the big question, then we'll dive into running backs as a whole. Has Trey Henderson, a guy who might go in the first round, added himself to the list of possibilities for the Steelers at pick 21?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any way around that. I mean, just based off of how much they seem to be courting him so far and how much interest they have in him going on a couple of months now, I mean, I would say that he is, he's on their radar. It's surprising to me because I didn't know that running back would be such a high priority in the first round. But I mean, just looking at this list of players that they have brought in on those top 30 visits, I mean, it's overwhelmingly running backs, and it's all along that same type of player like you just described. So, yeah, I think he's just about in the mix as anyone else who's been talked about at that 21st overall pick.
Yeah, me too. I look at a running back and say probably not their first priority, but I don't think it's super low on their list. Things would have to happen, and the Steelers have other interests. I think defensive tackle is still very high. My pick for the Steelers remains Kenneth Grant out of Michigan, but Kenneth Grant's not there. Walter Nolan's not there. Derek Harmon's not there. Shedeur Sanders goes, 3 to the Giants, who worked him out today. All these guys are off the board. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers would consider a running back. Do you think a running back, I'll ask it more of a general question. Where is running back on the list for first round picks? You got quarterbacks, defensive tackles, wide receivers. Where does a running back fall in your eyes for the Steelers?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm the one making the selections, running back is probably 4th or 5th on my list. Yeah. I think D tackle is probably my number one need. I think quarterback is right there. And then I think something like cornerback or safety is probably my third need that I would be trying to address in the first round. So for me, it's, then I'm getting into like those skill player positions between running back and wide receiver for those highest priorities. But yeah, it wouldn't be my top one. So again, I am very surprised by sort of how the Steelers are proceeding. And it makes me wonder, like, do the Steelers foresee the draft kind of spilling out this way where like defensive tackles are going to go, quarterbacks are going to go, all these other positions that maybe they do have a higher priority on are not going to be available. So they're doing more investigation, doing their due diligence a little bit further on running backs because maybe that's the only position that they think is gettable at 21.
I agree. I think at some point it's like Nicky Muwari. It's like Malachi Starks or, really anybody that they're looking at that is a little bit outside the box. You're looking at it going, okay, the Pittsburgh Steelers have the 21st pick in a draft class that is the least defined draft class we have seen in years. It's just like Cam Ward's going to go number 1. Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter are great players. Ashton Jeanty and Tyler Warren are great players, but they don't play premium positions. Everybody else is like, I guess good guy, quality player. Where he would fall in a normal draft, nobody has any idea. I think the Steelers are looking at it going, 21 could come up and we have no idea who's going to be on the board, and we have to have all of our T's crossed so that we can look at it and say, all right, Trey Henderson is a dude that we should add to our football team. You brought up corner. That's an interesting one. Why corner in your eyes for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I'm not a fan of this like 1 year veteran stopgap sort of approach.
Yeah.
I understand when you're a team that believes itself to be a championship contender, you think it's just sort of a plug and play in certain positions. And I get that mentality. And I love Joey Porter Jr. I guess I'm not sold on, that veteran partner. Even in Darius Slay and all of his achievements, I would much rather put a long-term investment into another corner. Like my dream pick would be getting someone like Will Howard out of Michigan. But I just don't think that there's really a way that he will fall to 21 unless, we'll see. But I think getting a player like that sort of rounds out your defense in a much short-term and longer-term window than sort of just addressing it for 1 year and then knowing you're going to have to come back to it in the 26th draft or beyond. That's why it climbed up for me.
I agree. I think Will Johnson he didn't even work out at Michigan's pro day. And I got a phone call after Michigan's pro day saying, Kenneth Grant's the dude, but I'm going to tell you right now, if there's any dream out there for the Pittsburgh Steelers, it is Will Johnson falling to 21. He did nothing. He just showed up in shorts and a t-shirt and said, go ahead, guys, you guys have a great job. Do good stuff out there on the field. And the Steelers are that in love with them. I agree with you. I also agree with the stopgap Band-Aid stuff. I'm not into it. I think the Steelers need a long-term plan. I think they like Corey Trice, but what they like and what we have seen so far are two different things. You got to have reliability. The best ability is availability, and Corey Trice doesn't have that right now. He needs more of it. I agree with that. I like that idea. I like adding corner to a list that I think people are moving or removing corner from heading into the draft.